Artist Studio. My name is Ed Green, and on behalf of the Fusion Arts Alliance, we'd like to welcome you here. Each week we bring an artist in to talk with, get a little sense of what their artwork is about, what they're about, and their views towards art in Marion, life in general. We have a very special guest today, a fellow that I've known for longer than either of us is willing to admit, Eric Reaves. And Eric, welcome to the Fusion Artist Studio.
Thanks for having me.
Your dad was General Motors here in Marion for many years. I knew your dad. Remember you when you were a little guy. What's brought you to this point? How did you get into art to begin with?
Really, it was just a natural, just something I had to do from a very young age. I tell my earliest experience of art is I remember being about, I know I was before kindergarten, so 4 or 5 years old, and I was with my mom somewhere. I was probably on her nerves, and so she gave me a piece of paper and a pen, and I had a penny in my pocket. And so I took it out and I drew Abraham Lincoln off the pen. And some lady just starts kind of going gaga over this Abraham Lincoln that I drew. And it wasn't my grandma or my mom, so I knew, those two people are going to tell you it looks great, even if it doesn't. So I knew that, hey, I must be able to draw. And my father had a lot of natural talent. That he didn't go to school for that, but he did a lot of portraits of people that worked at GM through the years. And
your dad was affectionately known as Red.
That's it. Yeah. And his CD handle was Red Rider. So yeah. So, but he actually was talented enough that when he got out of the service in California in 56, 57, he actually at that time Disney was looking for his team of Imagineers, and my dad actually had an interview with him before he came back to Indiana. So I'm not sure why he didn't think about staying out there, but would have maybe made things a little easier when I got started out. So really just a lot of natural born talent, and then I tried to take that and foster it the best I could.
You're an Oakville grad. Formal training beyond high school. Did you got a college degree?
Yeah, went to Marion College, now at the university. I was the last graduating class in Marion College, May of '88. So I graduated. They changed the name of the university. They tore down the art building. So I was pretty sure they wanted to remove all knowledge that Eric Reaves had been there. So yeah, so that's what and then just there I got super trained, Rod Frosted,
Bruce Campbell,
Rob Kirkman, Argelia, and just really for a young mind that wanted to learn and very small classes and had great instructors. It's a great opportunity to learn. I felt like I really got it.
I was teaching some photography out there. So when you got out of college, you were looking for a day job. What did you start with?
Well, Mrs. Williams gave me the advice to get a teaching degree. That would give you something to fall back on. I wanted to, be an artist and live in an ivory tower and paint pictures, and people would just throw money to me. It didn't take long to figure out that wasn't going to happen. So then I got a teaching job. I taught at Eastbrook High School for a year. Gentleman was on a temporary, I was just on a 1-year contract because he was on a medical leave. So I did that for a year, and a year was enough to gain a great appreciation for teachers and know that that's 1 year was all I wanted to do with that. So, God bless them, and they're amazing people. So, especially the ones that dealt with high school kids. So, anyway, from there, during college, my last year of college, I had worked down at Peerless Printing with Cole Morgan, and with Elam Smith, which was Mrs. Williams' father.
That's right.
And,
Wonderful guy.
Really Elam guy. Yeah, it was amazing. So worked there for a year, and then when I graduated, then I did the teaching thing. So I went back there after I couldn't, teaching was done. And from there, I saw an ad in the paper for an artist, a place called the Shirt Shed in Wabash.
Oh, yes.
And so I applied for that and got the job there. And that was really kind of what set the, unbeknownst to me at that time, set the tone for my career.
For those who don't remember Shirt Shed, it was an enormous operation. It was all pretty much the brainchild of one fellow who made it work.
Yep.
And a lot of artists were involved, a lot of jobs were created in Wabash.
Yeah.
And that all went away on his death pretty much, very quickly.
Well, and I never had the chance to meet Jim more, was
Yeah.
what we were talking about. Other than one time I was on a date in high school, and I remember this white Lamborghini pulled up at Noble Romans, and the gull-wing doors popped up, and this guy went and got a taxi and came back out. I learned
Jim Moore.
Yeah, I learned a few years later that he liked to see how fast he could get from Wabash to Marion if he could get here before the pizza was done. Kind of the thing. So, but he
lived in the fast.
Yes, he did. Yeah, that's what I've heard. So, but you know, just because of what he created out of a garage in Wabash, originally I think selling T-shirts at motorcycle dirt bike events, turned into what is one of the major screen printing manufacturers in the country. And so when I started there, I got all kinds of neat opportunities to be able to work with places that a little guy from Wabash, Indiana doesn't get to do. But I got to go to California to work with artists at Disney and Warner Brothers in New York, and just because we dealt with licensed characters there, so they were putting Batman, Superman, and just anything you could think of on T-shirts and sweatshirts, and selling them like crazy. So
you were working with license, Batman and all the movie characters, and then you were using your ability to bring them into a new situation on a T-shirt.
Right. Yeah. We would create a piece of art, we'd send it to Disney or Warner or whoever, and they had a licensing team that would go through an approval process, and you do this, you change this, and then you can print it, and then we would sell it into Kmart and Walmart and Meijer. So that was just a really, really neat time to be a part of that. When I was there, The Simpsons had just kind of gotten huge. That was like early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. So for a while there, any T-shirt that you saw that wasn't illegally printed in China was coming out of Wabash because they had an exclusive license for that. So I still remember my one chance I had to escape to Mexico or wherever I wanted to be and just live forever. We went to see Matt Groening at Fox Studios, and Bill Hensley was Jim's protege, and he came on after Jim. And we went to Fox, and he gave me a check to put in my suit pocket. Or I didn't know it was check. He just gave me envelopes and keep this. So we go to the meeting with Matt Groening, and halfway through the meeting, he says,
explain who Matt is.
He's the creator of Simpsons. Yeah. So Bill says, "Oh, Eric, give me that. Pull that envelope out and open it up and give it to Matt." I open it up and I give this. This is a check for $3.4 million it's a quarter royalty check for their share of the Simpsons T-shirts that it sold that last quarter. So I was like, oh my goodness,
this was the chance to go to Mexico.
Yeah, or wherever I wanted to go and just retire, if I just know. But,
and had a little larceny.
yeah. So it was, so I just got to do a lot of neat things during that time. And from there, that's where one of the licenses that we eventually had was Garfield. So that was how I got to meet Jim Davis and make that connection. And then came to a point where the Shirt Shed was kind of winding down. They got bought out. They brought in a couple of different guys trying to get the place back on track. And so once it looked like it was going to be moving operations, then I started looking for something else, and that timing wise just worked out that Jim was also looking for an assistant for the comic strip.
And for those who don't know it, Jim Davis is a Grant County product also. Went to Fairmount High School, went to Ball State, and is still over in Muncie.
Yep.
And you work one-on-one with Jim a lot.
Oh yeah. I was there for 17 years drawing the comic strip, and not something I ever dreamed of doing. I didn't know anybody could make a living being drawing cartoons. Drawing a comic strip. So it just really worked out really neat. And then that put me in course in connection with other people, and I met people at King Features Syndicate, and that was a good relationship there. I met Jay Kennedy, who was the comics editor for Hearst Corporation that owns King Features. But and then in doing that, I kind of freelanced on some other comic strips. I did a little bit of work on Blondie. I did a little bit of work on Hagar the Horrible, and Tiger was another comic strip.
The trick to this is having the ability to adopt another artist's style.
Yeah, that was kind of, I guess, my special gift was to be able to. I just for some reason I have an ability to emulate fairly well. So that was the situation with the Tiger comic strip where I did some samples while this gentleman Bud Blake, who was the creator of it, was on a medical leave, had heart surgery. So I did the strip for a few months, like 3 months. Then he was a couple years later, he was ready to retire, and they were like, "Oh, why don't you take over this strip since you drew it really well? Nobody knew that you were drawing it for this 3 months while Bud was on medical leave." So, so I thought that was what I was going to leave Garfield to do that. It just so happened that then the financial people at King Features said, "Wait a minute, we ran this strip for 45 years. We can just go back 30 years in time and start writing them again, and we don't have to pay for those." And nobody will remember a strip from 30 years ago if they were. So that dream came to a stop real quick. And then, just really crazy, that Jay Kennedy, who was the comics editor there for years, he was 50, got married, went on his honeymoon, and got caught in a riptide and passed away. And so I thought he was my main connection there. So I thought,
everything's happening right.
I'm not, I'm going to be drawing Garfield for the rest of Orange Circles for the rest of my life. So, but his assistant, by the name of Brendan Burford, he remembered my name, and when Chance Brown, who drew High and Lois for years after his father did, he then contacted me and said, would you do some samples for High and Lois? And so I did some samples, and they liked them. And so the idea was I was just going to help Chance keep up with the deadline, which he was kind of notorious for not really keeping up with the deadline all that great. Great, super guy, but extremely B personality. And you kind of got to have a little bit of A if you want to stay on deadline with a comic strip. So
they expect 5 of them a week.
A little, at least. So he had me. We just started. I did 1 month. I did a week, and then the next month he was like, "Well, you want to do 2 weeks?" And I was, "Yeah, sure." And then by the next month he was like, "You want to do 3 weeks?" And then in about 4 months' time he was like, "Do you want to just take this over? You want to take over the art part?" So I was thrilled, and I think he's thrilled too.
And you are doing it to this day.
Yeah. So that's been about, I think we're going about almost 12 years now.
And you're in how many papers?
It's about 1,200 newspapers worldwide. So it's a good chunk of the papers.
We spend a lot of time these days lamenting the loss of newspapers, and there are problems in the newspaper industry. But there are still a lot of newspapers around the world publishing a comic page.
Yeah. And one of the just really neat things about High and Lois is that always we hear from the syndicate that it's no matter what's papers falling away, dropping off, it's just kind of a constant. Like there's a lot of comic strips that they're subscription rates go up and down, and when things happen in society and culture that
I suppose Doonesbury would be an example.
Yeah, and so they kind of just start to tail off, but since 1954, they say that High and Lois has just been a really constant.
One of the fun things about High and Lois is that when you have the opportunity, you localize it to Marion and Grant County occasionally.
I do put the local Easter eggs in there as much as I can.
And if someone's reading a newspaper, pretty good chance it'll be the News Herald.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And you find other ways of getting local references in.
Yeah.
It's things that only the home folks recognize.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was one neat thing when I started doing it. That Chance said to me, like he said, make it yours. I mean, of course, I have to draw the characters, in the style and make them look right. But so I like to take advantage of that opportunity they gave me and just have some fun with it. So.
Talk about life in Marion, Indiana. You could be anywhere at this point. Why are you still here in Marion and Grant County?
My wife loves it here. She loves. She teaches at Indiana Wesleyan and just absolutely loves the school, and I do too.
Your wife is Lori Goss Reaves,
correct,
and who has done some writing on her own, and has written a book now on her father, who was killed in Vietnam when she was an infant.
Right, yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, she says she wants to work forever. So at some point, I want to just be in a trout stream and fish. So I guess I can commute to trout streams. I do that now. So we may be here forever. We'll see. Our kids, we made the mistake of telling our kids, "Oh, you can do anything. You can go anywhere," and they took us up on it. So it's that part's not so great because grandkids now are starting to be far away
Around the country.
Yeah. So
how many kids have you?
We have 5 kids. Oldest one is in Columbus, Ohio. Works for Apple. Next one is an attorney in DC. And then middle son, Colton, has Down syndrome and autism, so he's here with us. And then,
wonderful guy.
Yeah, and then my daughter is in dental school down at IU at UPUI, and then Casey, our youngest one, will be a junior at Azusa Pacific in LA.
Talk about your engagement with the arts community in Marion and the people involved in Fusion Arts Alliance, other things, trying to bring some energy to the art world.
Yeah.
What's happening and what should happen?
Well, I love seeing what I'm seeing happen. That's people that are just kind of taking an interest in the arts and doing what they can. I just see things here and there, people putting their art in places and different businesses letting artists put their work in here, like in here. And downtown, I see that area kind of, it's for years it's had potential, but I see some people actually starting to put some things in there. The Design Studio 407, and just some really neat shops and stuff I think are starting to come up around down there. So
Lots of young people
exciting.
involved.
Yes, and that's what we need. That's exactly what we need.
Yeah. How would you see, what needs to be done to encourage them even more?
I think we need I would like to see a way to find space for students to be able to stay here. There's just the resource of Indiana Wesleyan to feed your community. I mean, that's a wonderful resource. They're good students, talented, and try to work ways to get them to stay and be a part of the community and help it grow. That youth is what it needs. You get to a point where it's just the same people there. Eventually, everybody gets, we get old, we start to ache and all that kind of stuff. So we're not as prone to want to go do stuff.
In terms of your involvement in the community, one of the things that you've been doing for some time now is an editorial cartoon for the News Herald,
Right.
in which you comment on what's going on locally,
Yep.
which is kind of a nice feature to have
Yeah.
in the local newspaper.
Yeah, and I I don't know how many other places that happens, but I mean, it's
Not
kind
many
of, it's kind of a
anymore.
unique
Yep.
little setup, yeah, so.
It used to be that an awful lot of newspapers had an editorial page
On
cartoonist.
staff
They
now,
are very, very rare.
right, yeah.
What have I not asked you that I should ask you?
Goodness, I don't know. I think we've covered quite a few things, so.
Eric, thank you.
Yeah,
We appreciate it.
no problem.
On behalf of the Fusion Arts Alliance, we want to thank the folks at Midwest Coffee for their hospitality today. It's been a nice occasion, as it always is here, and we will be back later with another artist.